Hello, Carl. Welcome to our podcast Radico Show with Ranky. How are you doing today?
I'm very good, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Carl. So, first, I actually want to let you know that I have attended your Ultimate Productivity workshop last year, and
Mhm.
that was really awesome. That helped me a lot. And because of that, actually, I was able to have a better control on things, which truly matters to me.
Good, good, good. Excellent. That's
Yeah.
really good to hear.
Yeah. So today we're gonna talk about productivity, and we're gonna learn about productivity and how to have a better control on things which matters to us from you.
Mhm.
So, but Carl, before we get deep into our conversation, I really want you to introduce yourself, and I actually wanted to know your story. Like, how did you end up with teaching about productivity? You might have practiced, or you might have tried so many things, right? So, just
Mhm.
tell us about yourself.
Well, my productivity journey actually started in middle school,
Okay.
because, but I'm old enough now. When we were in middle school, there was no computers. I had to actually draw out on a piece of paper my study timetable. And it was absolutely fantastic. I loved it. I loved plotting out the subjects I was going to study, when, and everything like this. I mean, I was great at doing that. I was just terrible at actually studying. But at least I knew how to organize my studying.
Yeah.
Now, when I joined the workforce, I actually started in hotel management, which I would recommend to anybody
Hmm.
certainly as a first job, because you learn so much um, about people
Hmm.
mainly
Yeah.
and standards and things like that. And but it wasn't until I went into my next career, which was selling cars, that I was really introduced to time management and productivity uh, in the professional world. In the sense that I was very lucky that my general manager, the big boss, was he loved being organized. He loved being into time management, and he introduced me to like a weekly planning system. And it was from then that I'm still doing it. I mean, he sparked a joy in my life of being organized and knowing where stuff is and
Yeah.
never really feeling overwhelmed. And that's followed me all the way through. So then I became a lawyer, and that was fun because that was the first time I ended up working in an office, and that was where I discovered this is not what I want to do.
Hmm.
I don't want to be tied to a desk and working in an office, you know, 5 days a week. And that was when I took the decision to say, okay, it's time out, sort of thing. Let's go away for a year and think about my future. And that's when I came to Korea and I started teaching English here.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like the aha moment for me, because that's when I discovered where my real passion was, which was teaching. I absolutely loved it. And almost from the first day, even to today, 22 years later, I just light up when it comes to teaching. I love it. It's just, it's really where all my passion is. But also, I have that passion for being organized and time management and learning and reading about those.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to combine the two, which is what
Hmm.
I do now. So I do courses, I coach and do my YouTube videos and stuff. It's that passion of teaching and time management is just where I'm one of those weird people who find it very exciting.
Okay, so this is how I mean, so you might have like tried so many things, right? I mean, you have tried like so many apps, productivity apps, or like how did you come up with your tips or hacks or like idea of
I think for me, it was because I was lucky. I actually read all the books on time management from the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Oh,
So
okay.
all of those books, they're all by different authors, they all have different titles, but they all have the same basic fundamental principles. And
Hmm.
those have not changed even today.
Oh yeah.
The technology has changed,
Yeah.
but time hasn't changed. And more importantly, we haven't changed.
Oh yeah.
We can only deal with the information, the volume of information that we could deal with 100 years ago, even 1,000 years ago.
Hmm.
We can't deal with more. Our brains haven't evolved that fast. Technology has evolved that fast.
Hmm.
So I think for me, keeping my eye on the limitations of being a human being and our brain, although it is an amazing thing, is our brain, um, it still can only process information at the same speed we processed it 100 years ago, for example. And also understanding that technology is there to help us not become our master. So when I've played around with digital tools, and particularly digital tools, that's really where the principles I'm using haven't changed. So I have an inbox. I then have to organize what I've collected, and then I have to do the work. And it doesn't matter what tools you're using. It just matters that you look at your whatever it is, a paper-based to-do list or a digital to-do list, and say those are the things that must be done today. And that was the same in 1970, 1960. Hasn't changed.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. So yeah, so the reason why I asked this question is because we learn from others' mistakes. So like our life is short, right? So we cannot make a lot of mistakes. So instead of like making mistakes, just learn from others' mistake. Yeah.
Oh yes, I mean I'm on YouTube. It's fascinating to watch a lot of YouTubers who are see the title. So I'm done with this product, this tool. I'm now using
Yeah.
this tool. I'm going, okay, yep, I've made that mistake.
Yeah, yeah.
Constantly switching those tools means that you're just never doing any work.
Oh, yeah,
You,
that's
you
true.
get stuck in the middle bit, which is the organizing. So when somebody's constantly changing tools, it just tells me that they haven't been able to progress from organizing to doing. Because
Yeah.
ultimately, you want to be spending 95% of your time doing, because that's what will prevent you from being overwhelmed. It will prevent backlogs. It'll also give you more time for your family, your friends. It's the winning area of the whole part of time management and productivity. But when you get stuck in that organizing bit, like, oh, I'll find this new tool, or this new tool looks good and that looks good. Well, you're stuck. You're not doing. You're stuck in the organizing part.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I really like especially your concept where you have talked about COD, which is collect, organize, and do. Yeah, I really like that concept. But before we talk about productivity, I want you to dispel some of the myths on productivity. So there are like so many myths going on when we talk about this productivity. So people come up with saying that, oh, if you're talking about productivity, it means a life's gonna be boring, or it's gonna be a lifestyle of kind of robotic lifestyle. So I want you to dispel some of these myths. So I have like three myths, so if we can just dispel on it. So first is productivity restrict freedom. So what do you have to talk about this? What you can talk
Well,
about?
it's not so much that productivity restricts freedom, but it's more a case of people say structure and discipline, which is part of being productive, restricts freedom. I actually find it's the opposite way around.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the problem with not having any kind of structure, the problem with not doing your work, means that sure, you might think you've got freedom, but you're sitting down, having dinner with your family, and you're worrying about all the stuff that you haven't done, think you might need to do. That's not freedom. That's horrible. Freedom to me is like saying, yeah, I've got my stuff done, and now when I sit down and have dinner with my family, I can ask about their day and be engaged with them.
Yeah.
And if my wife says, "Hey, let's go to the movies tonight," okay, let's go to the movies tonight. I have the freedom to do that because my work is done.
Done. Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I'd love to go to the movies, but I didn't do this, so I've got to do it now. And then I've got, oh, no, I can't. Who wants to be married to somebody like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not freedom. So you're right. It is a huge myth. Is that having structure and discipline. There's a great saying, by the way, which is you always have to make decisions between two pains every day. It's the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. The pain of discipline is fleeting. It's just there for maybe 10 seconds. Why you think, oh, I don't want to do it. Do it. And you start, the pain's gone.
Yeah.
The pain of regret, however, is poison. It stays there. You get to the end of the day, you're sitting down, you're exhausted, and you think, oh, I didn't do that. I should have done that. That's not nice.
Yeah. 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 It happens a lot of the time. Like, uh, like if you don't plan it, or if you don't have your things written down, you just keep on thinking about it, and you're just draining your energy by thinking about it. Yeah.
True, true.
So you
Yeah.
don't have the freedom actually, but by having your things planned, you'll have more freedom of you're having like
Yeah,
free
because
time.
last night for us was a family night,
Hmm.
and when I finished my work and went through into the house, I don't need to worry about work.
Yeah.
I am there, I am present, and whenever my wife asks me something or whatever, I'm there, I'm available.
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
not preoccupied by something I should have done that didn't do, and now I'm worried about it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
that's so true. So second myth is productivity is about doing more things. Like what you say.
No, it's not actually. Productivity is about doing the stuff that you should be doing and
Yeah.
then having more time to be able to do the things you want to do.
Hmm.
Um, so, I it's been raining here for about 2 days, and I'm hoping there's going to be a break in the rain today.
Hmm.
And I want to take my dog for a walk. Now, the thing is, I don't know when or if it will stop raining, but I've got the freedom to do it um, because all my work is done.
Hmm.
I know what needs to be done today. And taking my dog for a walk this afternoon near the beach is just going to be absolutely fantastic. Please
Hmm.
stop rain, because I'm already excited about taking him. And
Yeah.
because I get my stuff done, I have so much more time to do the things that I want to do.
Hmm. Yeah.
I could watch. I'm a huge rugby fan.
Oh, okay.
So, get all my work done today.
Hmm.
And then this evening, I can sit down and watch a rugby match
Hmm.
and not have to worry about stuff that's I didn't do because I
Yeah.
did it. So
Hmm.
it's not true that it's about doing more. It's,
Hmm.
I suppose, in a way, it's about doing more of the important stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're not worried about it. So you can do more of the stuff that you want to do later in the day or in the
Hmm.
morning, whatever time you prefer.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. Yeah. Third is productivity is boring. What do you have to say on it, on this?
Productivity itself probably isn't boring, but what is boring is probably the work that you're doing, which would be it's a deeper problem.
Mm.
Um, you know, as I
Yeah.
mentioned before, I absolutely love teaching. So
Mm.
planning a lesson,
Mm.
planning a YouTube video, planning a course,
Mm.
that's just so exciting to me because it's where my passion is. I love teaching.
Mm.
But if I was still a lawyer and I'm thinking, oh, I've got to go through all those projects every day,
Yep.
I've got to try and resolve this child custody thing, which is A, emotionally difficult, and B, difficult because,
Mm.
you know, um, it's not the productivity that's boring,
Mm.
it's the work that I'm doing that's boring.
Yeah.
So I think when people say productivity is boring, it tends to tell me that there's something about their job that they don't enjoy doing.
Yeah, but there are times like we have to do some of the work, and which sounds boring to us. So I mean, can we make things interesting, or can we make
Oh,
productivity as fun?
absolutely. Let's take email for example. Most people find email a drain, a boring. It's just,
Yeah.
I hate doing
Hmm.
email. So what I've done is I've broken my email processing into two things.
Hmm.
So in the morning when I wake up, so this morning I think there was 120 emails in my inbox,
Oh.
and it's like I get excited
Uh,
because I set a stopwatch and say how fast can I clear this inbox.
oh wow.
And
Yeah.
120, I think it took me about 18 minutes this morning to do that. Just clear it. Now
Wow.
remember, I'm clearing, I'm not doing, I'm not responding, I'm just clearing. So I'm
Clearing.
sorting out the stuff I don't need to act on from the stuff I do need to act on.
Yeah.
And then this afternoon,
Hmm.
at some point, I will sit down and respond to the actionable email.
Hmm.
Now, in that folder, it's random. So I'm going to have like, oh, I've got to reply to this YouTube comment, and then, oh, I've got to reply to this question, and then, oh, James Clear's email.
Hmm.
James Clear writes Atomic Habits. He does
Yep.
a fantastic weekly newsletter.
Hmm.
It's called One Two
One, two,
Three.
three.
It's
Yep.
quite short, only takes about 2 minutes to read, but it's always sparks ideas in my head.
Hmm.
So it's like a comment to a YouTube video, which takes about 30 seconds. Then I've got to answer a question that might take me 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And now I'm reading James Clear. And then that's done, process that, next one. Oh, I've got to answer a question. So there's so much variety when I come to sit down. For 1 hour, I turn on my on the music.
Hmm.
So I've got music in the background, and I just say,
Wow.
okay, it's email time.
Oh, okay.
And weirdly, I love email because I have a process for dealing with it, and I've turned the morning part, the clearing the inbox, into a game.
Hmm.
How fast can I clear 100 emails? That's
Yeah.
always my question.
Yeah. So you made fun out of it, like
Oh,
whatever.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm,
So that's a good
yeah.
one. I mean, like people can learn from this thing that whatever things sounds boring to you, you can just think about it, how we can make it a game, or how we can come up with the
Yeah.
idea of having a fun with those things.
Yeah. And doing like expenses, which I know a lot of people have to do, that can also be a real pain to do every month.
Hmm. Yeah.
Again, I would look. I mean, for me, for something like that, with because my accountant is always asking me for stuff,
Hmm.
uh, I create like spreadsheets for it and think, how can I make this better? How can I make this faster? How
Yeah.
can I make this easier to do? So
Hmm.
it's like instead of it being a drudge, I'm always saying, how can I improve this? How can I make this better?
Hmm. Yeah.
Mm,
So
mm,
this we can apply in like so many other domains also.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
Mm,
one. Yeah,
mm,
beautifully explained. I mean, we have dispelled like three myths, so people like might come up with some ideas. Like
yeah.
productivity is not it's not boring. It's something which can actually make your life better, or you can come up with the ideas of how to make your things better, right?
Well, we're human beings and we like solving problems.
Yeah.
And this week I had to go and pick up my residency permit in Korea.
Hmm.
And the day they, because we're dealing with the immigration service, they say you come on Thursday. Okay, I'm coming on Thursday. They
Hmm.
told me to come on Thursday.
Hmm.
Um, I'm going, okay, so it's a 45-minute drive there. There's probably going to be a 20-minute wait, maybe 30 minutes, and then there's going to be a 45-minute drive home. So basically, my afternoon is gone.
Yeah.
So then I was talking to my wife about it, and she said, well, why don't we take the dog?
Hmm.
And then we can go to the beach nearby there. So he gets a different walk and we can do the walk then. I went, aha. So
Wow.
we now come, so I'm doing something I really hate doing, which is going to a government office because it's
Yeah.
always very
Yeah. Time consuming.
it's very it's not very productive area
Yeah.
in government offices.
Yeah, I
And
understand.
then I was able to, we spent 30-40 minutes running on the beach with my dog, and I'm just going, wow, this is a fantastic afternoon.
Yeah.
um,
That's
so again, you can even turn the really boring stuff, and you think, well, how can I make this more exciting?
yeah. Yeah, that's so
Mm,
true.
mm,
Okay, Carl, so let's just come up with some like some questions now. So
mm.
what's the first place we begin with this journey of productivity?
I would always tell people to start with their calendar. What
Okay.
do they? I mean, if you really, really want to build a lifelong habit of becoming better with managing your time and being that little bit more productive in what you do,
Hmm.
it would always start with what do you want to do. Now, that's what you want to do, not what your company or your boss wants you to do.
Yeah.
It's what you want to do. Because if you don't know what you want, you will end up doing what somebody else wants you to do. And that's
Hmm.
generally never pleasant.
Hmm.
But if you have that clarity in terms of where you want to go in your career, where do you want to go in your personal life, that now gives you a purpose every day. And if you're waking up on a Monday morning, you're going, "No, I'm going to go into work,"
Yeah.
and you have no idea what you're going to do once you get to work. So you just sit at your desk and you open up email, and you let email tell you what to do, so
Hmm.
you can feel busy and feel like you're doing something for the company. You're earning your money. Um, I can't imagine how that could ever be a nice life.
Hmm.
8 hours a day on average, so 40 hours a week of that, and it's like a quarter of your week has gone doing something you really, really hate.
Yeah.
So it's like, first of all, establish what you want. What do you want from your career? Now, if you want to get high up in your career in your company, where do you want to go? Do you want to be the CEO? Do you want to become a vice president? Do you want to just become the manager of your department? But now you have a purpose, because now you can start asking yourself, what do I need to do in order to get that position?
Hmm.
Now you've got a purpose. Now it gives you a little bit more energy when you're doing your work, because you won't want to do bad work. You want to do good work so that people notice you, so you get promoted.
Hmm.
And that's where it really comes from, is like, first start with what you want to do. and then allocating the time you need on your calendar
Hmm. Yeah.
and respect your calendar.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a famous quote and it's like really awesome. So if you don't own your time, somebody else will come and own, like
Yeah,
use
because
just
time
your
doesn't like
time.
a vacuum.
Yeah,
So if you're not mastering it, if you're not taking control of it, somebody else will take control of it
circle
for
of your
you.
time. Yeah.
And I mean, that to me is being very lazy as well. If you think about it, you're delegating your life to
Hmm.
other people, even strangers.
Yeah.
And is that really what you want to do? I hope not.
No. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So yeah, actually I got to know about from Monday, this coming Monday, it's gonna be 100 days to New Year. So that's a
Uh,
good, yeah. So that's a good way of people can start the challenge of having a control of their own time or setting up their calendar.
yeah, for me, 1st of October is the most exciting day of the year
Okay, why
because
so?
that's the start of what I call my planning season.
Oh, okay.
So what it means is that I'm not sitting down with big lots of documents trying to plan the year. It's just like, okay, 1st of October, my I start a note in
Hmm.
my notes app
Hmm.
and just with like basically 5 questions is, what do I want to change about myself? What do I want to change about the way I work?
Hmm.
What goals do I want to achieve next year? These questions are just designed to open up my mind
Hmm.
to possibilities. Um, and it's really exciting time of the year. In December, I then start to refine that list and start turning them into like actionable things that I can do in the year. But right now, from October and November, it's just really exciting. It's like, I can theoretically, you can just come up with anything. I want to go to the moon, whatever it is, whatever it. It's in December when it gets a little bit more serious because that's when you have to start getting a bit more real about what is possible and what's not.
Yeah.
But October and November for me are just exciting months.
Oh, okay. So like do you divide the whole year in quarterly or like how do you like, why you were so excited like October because October, November, December like 3 months is left for the New Year's?
Well, no, it's just, I suppose really it's just in October, it just gives you enough time. Because when I was younger,
Mm-hmm.
certainly in my 20s, it used to get to like the 31st of December, so the
Hmm.
New Year Eve, and somebody say, "What's your New Year's resolutions?" I go, "Oh, yes, oh, yeah, what do I want to do next year?" Well, it's not really thought through
Yeah.
because you haven't got time to really think about it.
Hmm.
So you just pick anything, and then it was, oh, I'm going to lose weight, or I'm going to do, just the standard regular resolutions that you're not going to do.
Yeah.
So by starting in October, it gives you a chance. It's all about the fun part of the thinking. It's not about writing
Oh.
anything out of that. Well, you're keeping notes, but you're not planning anything out. You're just capturing ideas really
Hmm.
about what you would really like to change about yourself next year.
Hmm.
And to me, it's thinking about what you want for yourself in the future. It's not selfish. It's like, yeah, and it gets you excited. So when you get to note December and you start thinking what's realistic and what's not realistic,
Hmm.
you know, that's when you've got all these ideas to support you instead of it leaving it to the last minute and just grabbing something that sounds cool.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's very interesting. Actually,
Mm.
I also do some similar kind of thing. So I divide the whole year in 3 months. So it's gonna be like four 3 months. And every if I'm not productive enough for the first 3 months, so I just remind myself that okay, so I can start a new thing from the like after 3 months. So that's how one year becomes my like 4 years. So every three
Yeah,
months
yeah. I
I
mean,
have
I,
a
I
thing.
divide things in quarters. So my projects are divided into quarters.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's what. Yeah,
Yeah,
it all depends on your how you're thinking and how you're making
yeah,
making it fun for yourself. Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Mm,
very interesting. Yeah.
mm.
So Carl, like, so there are like so many problems people come up with, right? So one of the problem is like we add so many things in our to do list, but we end up adding so many things in it, and then we like be overwhelmed by the so many things. So how to have our to do list thing sorted?
Well, this is something I discovered as a problem with digital um, to dos. Now, technology is great. I mean, I'm not anti-technology in any way, but the ease at which we can collect stuff into our inboxes
Mm-hmm.
means that we're collecting a lot of stuff we never used to collect.
Mm.
We had different ways of dealing with it. Um, Now, one thing I started an experiment again this year was just to see, just actually it was an idea for a YouTube video, see if it worked, and I'm now still using it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is even though I'm using a digital task manager.
Yeah.
I have a little tiny, I don't know if, well, I can actually show you because I've got it on my desk,
Like
which is a
same.
really little tiny
Yeah.
notebook like this.
Yeah.
And what I do is every day I write the 2 or 3 most important things on this little
Mm-hmm.
notebook.
Mm.
Now that's on my desk all day.
Okay.
And again, turning it into a bit of fun because I have a pencil next to it. And as soon as something's done, I cross it out and, that's done. But the thing is that those 2 or 3 things are always the most important things.
Mm.
Now, on my to-do list, for example, today is to water my bonsai tree outside.
Mm.
But it's been raining for 2 days. I don't have to do it. It's actually on my to-do list.
Oh, okay.
Now, I was thinking about this the other day. I was thinking, well, before digital task managers, did I write down on my paper to-do list water the plants or water the bonsai tree? No, I didn't. There was
Yeah.
a natural trigger. Every time I saw it, I would put top it. And I noticed that's the same today. Whenever I go outside to let the dog outside, the bonsai tree is just there. I go, oh yeah, I need to water it.
Mm.
So I don't really need that on my task list, but it is on my task list because it's so easy to put there.
Mm.
So I think if people have got so many things on their to-do list, I think what they need to do is look for those things that you don't really need to be there. Like email, for example, you don't need to put email into a task manager because you've already got an inbox in email.
Mm.
And it's very easy to create a folder called action this day or action for actionable email.
Mm.
So now all you need is one task in your task manager to remind you to clear that folder every day. Once that becomes a habit, you can remove the task. So for me, it's a habit. On my calendar, I've got an hour for communications this afternoon.
Mm.
So I don't need that task in my task manager because my calendar says you're sitting down for an hour to do your email now.
Mm.
So I don't need my task manager to say, do your email
Yeah.
because my calendar's already given me time to do it. So I just open up email, start at the top, work my way down.
Mm. Yeah.
So you're gonna be looking at what you're putting in your task manager. A lot of it probably doesn't need to be there. Like, okay, if you're starting new morning routine,
Mm.
maybe you need a list somewhere to remind you what your morning routine is. But eventually the whole point of a morning routine is it becomes a habit.
Mm.
So my morning routine I've been doing for 5 years. I don't, sometimes I end up with a cup of coffee in my hand and just wonder, how did I get here? Because it's so automatic now. I walk
Yeah.
to the kettle, I turn the kettle on. While it's boiling, I do my stretches. I
Mm.
drink some lemon juice water also while my coffee is brewing.
Mm.
And then I end up sat at my desk with my journal open, pen in hand, and thinking, how did I get here?
Yeah.
Because every morning I do the same thing. My trigger is turn the kettle on, which I've been doing probably since I was a teenager. So, it's it doesn't need to be in my to-do list.
Yeah. So it doesn't have to be hardcore. Like you shouldn't be doing you shouldn't be having your to-do list something like that. You have to wake up at this, then you have to like soon after waking up, you do your stretches or you drink your lemon tea. I mean, you can change sometimes, right? You don't have to be
Yeah, I
on
mean,
sequence, right?
you can change it. Yeah, I mean, I did a lot of experimenting with morning routines until I found something that I felt was good. I tried meditation, and I just for some reason it doesn't work for me. I know meditation works for many, many, many people.
Yeah.
I also tried waking up at 5 o'clock every morning. And actually, that was quite good. I did that for 18 months. But then a lot of my coaching calls now are between like 10 p.m. and midnight. So waking up at 5 a.m. was no longer practical. But there was something else. Like if you've read Robin Sharma's 5 a.m. Club, it's a really, really good first hour of the day. It's like 20 minutes
20
of
minutes.
exercise, 20 minutes of planning and 20 minutes of learning. I love that concept because it's really simple. Exercise, planning, learning. And it's just done in 1 hour. That's the most important part of the 5 a.m. club. It's not waking up at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
You can do that first hour at 6 or 7 or 8 a.m. If you're a night person, you can do it later in the day. It's just, what do you do when you first wake up in the morning? And I have the same routines. And it's what it does though is it kind of sets your mind in the right frame, ready for the day.
Yeah, yeah. It's not about what all things. It's just about the things what you like you said, the planning and the organizing and learning, exercise planning and learning,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, I think of
About the
morning routines
concepts.
as this is your time.
Yeah.
It's for you. It's not for your kids. It's not for your spouse. It's not for your partner. It's not for your parents. That first 45 minutes or hour of the day, however long you want it to be, is about you. It's your time. I think of it as me time.
Yeah, yeah.
Because once the day starts, particularly if you're in an environment where there's lots of people asking you questions, you won't have any more time for me time. So
Yeah.
start the day with me time. It just sort of focuses you and it gives you some, right, I'm ready for the day.
Yeah, that's so true.
Mm,
Yeah, I'm
mm,
like from last 2 3 months, I'm enjoying this my me time where I just have my coffee and my laptop open. I'm writing something and having a music
mm,
running in the background. Yeah,
mm.
so
Yeah.
that's the like I get excited about that me time. So you have to come up with some idea, like you said, which makes you also interested doing that activity.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It's all about you. It's not about anyone else. It's always about you and what you want to do. So as I say,
yeah.
meditation didn't work for me, but writing a journal does. I love it. I find that very meditative.
Meditate.
Whatever,
Yeah.
however, however you need to say that word.
Yeah,
Mm,
that's really awesome. Yeah.
mm.
So I mean, so we come up with so many things into to our to do list, right? So how do we prioritize it? Like, I mean, do you have any hack or do you have any tips how to prioritize from your to do list?
Well, this goes back to what I said about, if you're going to start out on developing a time management or productivity system, start with what you want. But there's a second bit, particularly in your professional life, there is a certain, you are employed to do something. You are paid to do something. You might be a salesperson, you might be a teacher, you might be an architect, you might be a designer, but you're paid to do something.
Yeah.
So a teacher is paid to teach. A salesperson is paid to sell. An architect is paid to design buildings. A designer is paid to design posters, articles, whatever. So that's your paid work. That's what I would actually call your core work. And that needs to be clearly identified first, because that will always be your priority. This is, after all, what you're paid for. You're not paid to do voluntary work that you volunteer for. Yes, I will help with the end of year company party. That's a voluntary work.
Yeah.
Now, if you've got the time to do it, that doesn't, I'm not saying don't do it, but
Yeah.
just make sure that before you volunteer for extra work, which we all do from time to time, make sure that you've got enough time to do the work that you're paid to do, what I call the core work. That will always be your priority. So if you're looking at the hierarchy of prioritizing your day, and for those people familiar with like the Franklin Planner, there was a reason why they called it the prioritized daily task list. They didn't call it a to-do list or a task list. They always called it the prioritized daily task list.
Oh.
And the reason for that was these were the things that were related to the core work and yourself. So if being fit and healthy is important to you, that needs to be on your calendar, exercise time. If spending time with your young children is important to you, that needs to be, I say on your calendar, you don't say spend time with kids, you just put family time, because
Yeah.
as soon as you're dealing with your kids and your spouse and your partner or whatever, you're now dealing with somebody else and they may not want to spend time with you. If you've got teenage kids, for example, they don't want to spend time with you. So, but you can be available for them. That's why I call it family time.
Family time. Yeah.
That's where you start. That's what you should be on your task list. Now, there's a lot of random stuff that you may have to deal with, of course, like customers' queries, upset customers or screamers, as we used to call them back in the day. Yeah, sure. But they are loud and they're noisy and they're right in front of you. You probably don't need them on your list because you're not going to be able to ignore them.
Yeah.
But what you need to do is your task list should be fundamentally the stuff that you are paid to do. Now, as I say, there are going to be other things on there too, but those are your priorities. Always
Hmm.
start there.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if you're doing your job, if you're doing the work that you are actually employed to do, your career is going to start taking off. What I find is people who really genuinely work very hard, 80% of their time is spent on voluntary work. Now, when it comes to their, evaluation at the end of the year, they're not evaluated on that 80% of that work. They're
Yeah.
evaluated on the work they didn't do because they were doing the volunteered work.
Yeah, that's so true.
So, if you're a salesperson, you have to sell 100 units every month,
Yeah.
but you're only selling 90 because you're training other salespeople, which you were never employed to do. You're helping your sales manager with the sales figures every month, which you weren't employed to do. Don't complain when you don't get promoted.
Yeah.
First sell your 100 units first, then you can help.
Yeah, this is
Or
so
I would
true.
say sell your 110 units first. So, go over and
Over.
then help.
Help. Yeah, that's so,
There's
very
that
true.
classics, when we go on an aeroplane and they do the safety announcement,
Yep.
and you've got a young child next to you and the oxygen mask comes down. What do? You put your mask on first before putting the child's on.
Yeah.
And it's the same in your work. Get your core work done first. And then, if you've got time, do the voluntary stuff.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. First, you need to take care of yourself, then only you'll be able to take care of others too. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Mm.
Yeah. So Carl, like most of the time we make a list, right?
Mhm.
And we are like so much motivated also that we're gonna finish our tasks. We have our priority list and stuff like that. But this problem comes in, which is procrastination. So
Mm.
how how to get things started? How how
Well,
how we can come up with not procrastinating?
procrastination is an interesting thing because sometimes you need it. Um, Sometimes we procrastinate because we really need to think something through. And that's what I call the positive procrastination. It's where your creativity comes from. It's where you come up with creative ideas to,
Yeah.
creative solutions to problems that may be around. Then there's the procrastination is that you're not doing something because you just don't like doing it or don't want to do it. That's the negative procrastination. But again, before we start running around saying, I'm a procrastinator, we need to probably look at maybe the causing of it. If I don't get a good night's sleep, I know I'm going to procrastinate the next day. It's not because I'm a procrastinator, it's just because I'm tired. So,
Yeah.
what would be the best thing to do when I'm tired? Now, I'm fortunate that I have an office at home. So I have a home office, if you like. So if I'm tired, I can go and take a nap. I can just go into the house and take a nap. I know people who work in an office don't necessarily have that luxury,
Yeah.
but maybe just, okay, I'm just really struggling right now, is get up and go out for a walk. But then there's the really, what I call the really negative procrastination, which is caused largely because you really, really don't enjoy your job. It's boring, it's mundane, and everything that you're doing is just, oh. Now that needs a different solution. That needs like, okay, I need to take some time out, maybe a weekend, and just step back and reevaluate your career goals, your professional goals. I'm not suggesting that you leave your job or anything, but it's like I need a purpose. I need a purpose for going into work and achieving something. So when my I procrastinate whenever my accountant asks me for the VAT, value added tax, because my company is based in Europe. We have to pay VAT on European sales.
Okay.
I hate that job. It's 90 minutes and it costs me money. It doesn't make me money, it costs me money because I'm
Got
having
you.
to pay tax at the end of it. I hate it and I procrastinate. So my accountant will send an email on a Monday and I'm still on my task list on Friday. But I know that, so I have to kind of remind myself, like saying, okay, first of all, it's not setting a good example to my accountant
Yeah.
that I'm taking 7 days to reply to her email.
Yeah.
And secondly, whatever happens, I've got to pay this tax anyway. If I don't, I'm going to have the tax office coming at me and I'm going to pay a fine. So
Yeah.
I then focus on the pain of not doing it. I don't normally like to do that. I prefer to focus on the joy of doing it. But when it comes to taxes, it's generally the pain of not doing it.
Hmm.
And sometimes you, again, it goes back to like making work fun, if you can call doing taxes fun,
Hmm.
is sort of like, is that, well, if I don't do this, it's going to cost me a lot more money.
Yeah.
So you got to be aware, you got to kind of be able to distinguish what kind of procrastination it is. The
Hmm.
positive one is that you just need a bit time to think things through and be creative.
Hmm.
I go for that. I love that.
Hmm.
It could be that you're just tired, and that means go take a rest, go for a walk, take a nap, whatever. And then the negative one, which is, yeah, you've got to find ways, a purpose for doing it.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I remember reading one article where Bill Gates is talking about that he wants to hire lazy people because whatever work is assigned to those kind of people, they come up with some new ideas of doing it a faster way.
Oh, of
Yeah,
course, yes.
yeah, yeah. That's a good one. Yeah, yeah. So no, and also, I mean, if we are like doing a lot of procrastination, we can come up with some ideas of how to lower the friction of not doing that task, right? Like for example, if I want to learn guitar, right? So if I'll be having guitar right next to me, or if I'll be like seeing guitar all the time, so that the friction is lower, so it'd be high chance of picking it up and learning it instead of like putting in my cupboard, right?
Yeah, there is. And there's another one, which is a procrastination can be caused by, let's just say that you know you have to do a presentation
Hmm.
um, in 2 weeks' time and you just keep putting it off.
Yeah.
Well, the biggest problem here is it's probably going to be a big thing. You've got to design the PowerPoint file. You've got to think
Hmm.
about what you're going to say.
Yeah.
So in those situations, I usually tell people, I said, look, just open up PowerPoint, create the file, choose a theme if you're still into it,
Hmm.
and then stop.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes the hardest bit is starting. And so, when I get the email from my accountant to do the VAT, which I say I really hate doing,
Hmm.
um, the task I put on my task list is download the sales data from the website.
Hmm.
So now I've got the file.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got the file that now I just need to go in and remove all the non-EU sales.
Yeah.
But that's the bit that takes a long time. Um, but the first step, there's always a first step for everything. The
Yeah.
first step is to actually download the sales data. That's easy. I just
Hmm.
need to go to one website,
Hmm.
put in a few dates, click, 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 and it downloads.
Hmm.
So, that's not difficult. I can do that. And that's what I would put on my task manager,
Hmm.
download sales data. Now,
Hmm.
to be fair, I do generally keep putting that off too, but it's a lot easier than saying
Yeah.
do VAT sales and send to Claire, my accountant,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's like, oh, that's too big.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
what's the very first step? And it is often like if you're doing a presentation file or writing a report,
Hmm.
the first step is opening the document. So
Hmm.
create the document, and then at that point, if you think, oh, I really don't want to stop,
Hmm.
but now you've got a document. Now, I
Yeah.
would say try and go a little bit further, at least write the first paragraph.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because now you feel like, because now it's not start, now
Hmm.
it's continue. And
Hmm.
continue is a lot easier to do than start.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. That's a physics law also that if you're in motion, you tends to be in motion until external force is applied.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's a
yeah.
good one. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, Carl. So, third question is we oftentimes like there are so many distraction things available right in front of us, right? Instagram and the other things which distract us. So, do you have like how to stay focused in this distracted world?
Okay, so this one, what I've noticed this year, because I've been kind of monitoring my use of social media this year, is it's actually habit forming.
Oh yeah.
And what I mean by that is I find that I will go onto Instagram
Hmm.
when I finish my work, fortunately,
Hmm.
and watching TV.
Hmm.
So I usually have a TV show that I'll watch in the evening after I finish my work. It's just my way of trying to shut my brain down,
Hmm.
and it's usually comedy. What
Okay.
I've noticed is at some point my hand seems to automatically go out to pick up my phone, and I
Phone.
click on Instagram and I
Instagram.
start scrolling. And I've just been very aware of this, and I thought, okay, so social media seems to be habit forming in the sense that you tend to pick it up at certain times. At certain times in the day, it's like you're doing something.
Hmm.
So what I generally try to do is like for me, 9:30 to 11:30 is my critical hour of the day. That's when I do my focused work.
Hmm.
I've never, ever, ever looked at social media in that time. I
Oh.
don't know why, but when I was thinking about it, it's because I never associate social media with that time.
Hmm.
That's for writing or recording or doing something, but it's not ever. I've never associated with looking at social media. It's again first thing in the morning. I've never done it, so I don't do it.
Hmm.
But toward the end of the day, I notice that I start doing it, and that's because I've always done it towards the end of the day. So I think what we've got to do is look at when in the day do you find yourself going on to like social media sites and
Hmm.
looking at it, because I'm not one of these people who thinks that you have to remove all those apps from your phone. I think
Hmm.
that's just a bit too extreme.
Yeah.
And it's fun as well. Social media is fun, and it's particularly as I live in Korea and my parents live in Ireland, which is a long way away, like
Yeah.
what 12,000 kilometers away. It's one way that we can stay in touch, and I can see what they're doing and they can see what I'm doing.
Hmm.
But there's a time and place, and for me, it's usually while I'm having dinner. If I'm not having dinner with my wife, if she's out,
Hmm.
then I'll do it while I'm eating dinner.
Hmm.
My dog doesn't seem to mind.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but but yeah, I think you've got to be aware first. If you're wanting to avoid, reduce that, is you first need to be aware of when you do it.
Hmm.
But if you find yourself doing it in the middle of when you're supposed to be doing some focus work, that's when you have to say, right, I'm turning my phone off, or I'm turning it upside down, or I'm putting it in another room while I do this work.
Hmm.
Afterwards, hey, don't restrict yourself. You've done
Hmm.
the work.
Yeah.
So
That's
you can
so
also
true.
use it as reward, by the way.
Hmm.
So if I do this piece of work, or if I spend an hour doing this,
I can.
when it's finished, I can scroll social media. I generally do that as a way of just to get away from my writing screen.
Hmm.
I'm now seeing visual pictures, although I generally prefer not to look at a screen at all, but sometimes I do.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Instead of like punishing yourself, we can just make it fun and
Yeah,
make it as a reward thing.
yeah, use it as a reward.
Yeah,
Mm,
use it as a reward.
mm,
Yeah,
mm,
because yeah, I was also looking at my screen time, and I kind of noticed like what time I'm using a lot and which app I'm actually using it.
mm.
So I just put a
Yeah, so
timer of
you can collect the data on that, and you can see
yeah,
and think, why that time? It could be that that's the time then your brain is tired and it just needs a break. And social media is a bit, that's
yeah.
why they call it doom scrolling.
Hmm.
You're looking at moving pictures, if you like, because you're scrolling,
Hmm.
and it's just that your brain is not having to think.
Hmm. Yeah, that's so true.
Mm,
Yeah. Okay, so Carl, we also got to know that you have written this book, Your Time, Your
mm,
Way.
mm.
So if you can just talk about your book, and I'm really interested getting that book and want to read it.
Well, the thing about the book is I didn't really start out with this purpose, but it turned out that it's kind of like a manual for getting, control of your time so you can live the life the way that you want to live it. And as I mentioned at the beginning, it really starts with understanding what you want.
Hmm.
So, like the first part of the book is doing your areas of focus,
Yeah.
which is family, relationships, finances, career, self development, lifestyle, life purpose, and so on. And then it also helps you to identify what your core work is. And then it starts to give you a system of managing all the stuff that you have to do.
Yeah.
So it's like a step by step approach for my publisher disagreed with me for this, but I wanted to say, time management for the 21st century, because that's when we're in. All
Hmm.
the best time management books available today were written in the 20th century. So
Hmm.
people automatically think that they're out of date. They're not actually out of date. I've just read one book called Time Power
Hmm.
from, I think it was written in the early 1980s.
Oh, okay.
And as I was reading it, I was going, wow, this is so relevant today.
Hmm.
Now, the only difference is that a lot more secretaries were writing down messages and putting them on slips of paper on your desk when you came back from a meeting.
Hmm.
But those little things have changed. But the way that we managed our work hasn't changed. But anyway, my publisher wouldn't let me call it time management for the 21st century because he said, well, what happens when we get to
20.
2099? Your book's out of date. I said,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, that's a good point. So I said, but I'm probably not going to be around then anyway.
Yeah.
so,
But
um,
you still
so I
won.
thought, okay, we didn't do that. But that's kind of my approach is to think, well, as I mentioned before, a lot has changed in the way that we do our work, and a lot of tools have come along that can make our work faster and better and more efficient. But ultimately, two things haven't changed. Two very important things haven't changed. The fact is, we still only have 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
That's not changed, and it won't. And for those people who are really excited about AI, I have some really bad news. AI will not change that either.
Yeah.
AI will not change the number of hours you have each day. And secondly, we haven't changed. We can only do one thing at a time. I mean, there are some things we can multitask. We can talk and walk. But we can't reply to 5 emails at the same time.
Yeah.
We can still only reply to one email at a time. That hasn't changed, and it's not likely to change in the future either. Maybe in thousands of years' time we can multitask, but it's not going to happen in our lifestyle. So in our lifetime. So understanding that is really important. And so this book is really designed to help people to really come to terms with what they can do to get a little bit more control of their time, so they have more time for the things that they really, really want to do. Now, I feel really lucky because I've been practicing this now for about 20 years, what I wrote in the book. And I now, get to do the things I've always wanted to do. And none of that involved money. It was all about time. Having time to do these things. And I still get a lot of work done every day.
Yeah.
So that's what this book is. That's why it's called Your Time, Your Way.
Yeah.
You do it your way.
Yeah. Yeah, if we, I mean, it's all your time, and it always has to be your way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, Carl, we came to our end of this podcast. I'm looking forward for so many more conversation with you. But it was really nice talking to you. I really appreciate your time. And
it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming and helping with so many questions and myths.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.